Hello and welcome to our Catalyst video. Today's topic will be process automation using Alchemy CATALYST. The first question when we talk about automation is usually why do I want to automate Catalyst and my localization process? There are several reasons. The first one would be obviously that you can save time and money because you spend less time on pure file transfer or file preparation. The second reason would be that it allows you to seamlessly integrate your localization process in the larger build and development process. And finally, it improves the consistency of your process because scripts are carrying those copy, those renaming, and all those different tasks. There is no chance for a mistake going into one of the languages, by example. So, once we've understood why we want to automate, the second question usually is, how do I do that? How do I automate Catalyst? Catalyst actually offers you multiple solutions. You can use the EasyScript language, and that will allow you to automate Catalyst using command line scripting and batch scripting. You can also use the COM API if you have to develop a pro version of Catalyst, and this will allow you to create an automation utility for Catalyst that would be maybe developed in C# or Visual Basic, by example. So I think when we talk about automation, we should really see exactly what the benefit is on a more practical level. So if we take a standard software update process, which you will have now on the screen, you will see that we get an update notification, and then we have to go over to the source control, get the files, download them, probably based on a tag or another marker. We'll then create a TTK based on those files we've just got from the source control, and we will then go into the international or language source control, where we will take the master TTK and probably the translation memories. We will then use the master TTK to leverage the logs, the memos, and all the metadata into our project file. And then, for each of the languages which we are targeting, we will need to create a copy of that master project TTK, change the target language, leverage from the relevant language translation memory, create a report which will be sent to the project manager. We then decide whether we want to send the file out for translation or not. If we do, we send the file out for translation, get it back when it's translated. We then validate the TTK. Once the TTK validation is complete, we will generate the translated files, running a TTK extract, and then create the build of the translated application, and finally deliver that build to the QA team. Now, obviously, because we repeat all the steps that are part of the target box, I should say, for each of the target language, and we can work in 25, 30, 60 languages, this can take quite a lot of time. Thus, this is where automation comes into play. So let's have a look at the same process, but with extensive automation. This is what it looks like. Essentially, we still get the notification, the update notification, and then we run the update script. The update script will deal with the source control, the different source control, different repositories, we'll do the creation of the master TTK, we'll leverage, and actually we'll place the file on FTP just in case. And then we can decide whether we need to send them out to the translators or not, in which case we'll pause the system while we send out and get back from the translation. And then we'll continue, and the automation then will pick up the files, run the validation expert, and generate the target file. We can then have a look at the validation report and decide whether we can create the build or not. In some cases, the build system itself will actually be Catalyst enabled, which means that it will itself create the translated version of whatever English build it is currently building for French or for any language chosen. To do that, it will simply go into a source control repository, get the latest version of a specific TTK, and use it to create that, as a translation memory, to create that translated version of the file. Essentially, the script will then be able to deliver the build to the QA team. So far, it looks very promising, but we haven't really done anything meaty. I mean, we've just spoken about processes and improvements. So I think that the best thing to do now would be to show you an application we've prepared here in Alchemy, and that will actually run through, let's say, the steps we've shown you and show you how you can automate them so that they basically become a single button click. So let's have a look at the UI, which will give you an idea as to what the application does. The application, by the way, is written in C# and the source code will be made available to people who visit this video. So we have the application. Now, as you can see, what we'll do is we'll have a source control tag, allowing you to find all the files that you need. We then create the master TTK, create the language TTK, leverage them, and send the kits to the translation team. And finally, we are able to specify the languages we want to process. So, and here you can see the main code. You'll see that it is commented, so you know exactly what each function does. Now, I think instead of going through the code, what we will do is, we will run the application. So let's run the application, and we are just making sure that everything is in order. Yes, that looks good. So let's have a look at the demo folder. And this is my work environment. This is my work machine, and I have a sandbox, a location to put the files coming from that source control repository, an international sandbox which will take the files coming from my international source control, TTKs, TMs and other things, FTP folder, which is where I send the files to when I'm ready to send them for translation, and a working folder where I will be doing, creating the TTKs and other things like this. Okay, so let's add my source control tag. Prod, and it's actually, we're now at beta 7, so let's say B7. And this would be a tag, by example, in the source control, meaning that you can do a checkout based on that specific tag. And then we will create the master TTK, the language TTK, leverage them, and send the kits out for translation. And let's do this for French, if I manage. No. German and Italian. So I'm going to click on the Start button. And essentially now you can see that the tool is working. So if we have a look at the sandbox, you will see that we've actually got the files from our source control. Now in the case of this demo, it's simply from another folder, just to give you an idea how it can be done. Then we have the international sandbox that will contain the master TTK and the translation memories. And these have been downloaded now, and you can see here that the status is moving on as well. TTK has been created for French and German. So if we look in our working folder, we have an Alchemy prod B7, and we have the different languages. We have also the master TTK, which contains logs and memos from the source. And then what we do is we are going to leverage the TTKs so that they are available. They are pre-translated, and the translators only have to look at the delta. While we're pre-translating the TTK, we will also generate a report, which we will then be able to take and send to the project manager, or we can get the automation to do this. I don't think this one does that. So here we are, and now we have actually uploaded the files to FTP. Now in this case it's once again a simple folder, but it is just a question of FTPing the file to a specific location. And you have a localization kit created for each of the translators. Now what you do is we will check the statistics and decide whether we should flag to the translators that we have new translations, or maybe there are not enough of them. That would be a minimum charge, so we might decide not to. Either way, we can then complete the process. So this is basically how we've been able to do all of the tasks that you've seen in the screenshot by just clicking on the Start button. Likewise, we can create a post process which allows us to download from FTP. So in that case, I will need to create a from FTP folder. No, I have a from FTP folder. I have a from FTP folder just to be safe, and I will download the files from FTP, validate the TTK, extract the target files, and commit to source control. And I'll click on Start, and basically the files will be downloaded as we work around, and we will move them into the working folder and then start working on those files. So here the validation is actually triggering another plugin, which is a subject for another video, which is how to create validation plugins in Catalyst. So, we are just waiting for the files to be extracted, and we now have the files extracted. So if we have a look at the working folder, we have the B7, and let's take a look at the French file, and you will see that you have an extracted folder with the files contained. And if I run dlexe, now the files have been pseudo-translated. I didn't actually translate them into French, but you can see that we have the French version of the software running and ready to be included in the international build. So as you can see, by just clicking on two buttons, we've been able to do all the process required for pre and post processing of the files. We also have, of course, the validation report with our files, and we can therefore decide whether we're happy with the way the validation has happened or if we want to get a bit more work done on it. So there we go. Obviously, you can add steps because the automation is your creation, and then you can make it evolve as much as your requirements to evolve. So this really was for the show me part. So okay, let's imagine you've seen the video, you so think, yeah, I definitely should do that, could do that, and want to do that. So the next question will be, okay, what do I do now? So I would say the first step probably is to download the sample code so you can have an idea, have a look at it, see if it makes sense, and maybe adapt it for your own need. You have additional help files. So if we go into the you can call them from Catalyst, but if you go into the program file, Alchemy Software Catalyst 9, you will see that there is an SDK90 .chm, which will contain the help for the COM API, so give you the reference of all the functions you can use once you use the Catalyst Auto Task Manager. And you will have the EasyScript CHM, which will tell you how to create scripts, because what we've done here through this UI, through this application, we can really do as well through command line scripting. Maybe not quite as precisely, I mean a little bit more, not as in-depth, but you can do most of the preparation and leveraging and creation of TTK through either the EasyScript or the leveraging. Our code actually uses the EasyScript, even though it's inside a VB app, in a C# app, to do the leveraging, just to show you the difference. Finally, once you've checked the two helps, you think you want to go to the next stage and you might need a bit of assistance, don't hesitate to contact us, and we'll be more than happy to assist you and provide you with code samples or step-by-step guides on how to do specific things. So really, as a summary for this session, the automation will bring you quite a lot of advantages. One of them is that seamless integration. It will allow you to adapt Catalyst to your process, meaning you don't have to change your process to work with Catalyst. What we will do is we will bring the things that we will create script that will bring Catalyst into your process without having to do any changes. To do that, you have a choice of environment. You can use shell scripting via EasyScript, or you can use a development environment like Visual Studio, for example, via the COM API. And finally, the automation in itself will bring you an improved process consistency and less little niggly errors due to somebody copying the same type of files in 50 different locations. There is bound to be one or two errors in there. If you have any questions on the topic that we've covered during this demo, please don't hesitate to contact us at info@alchemysoftware.ie. In the meantime, thank you very much for taking the time to follow this demo, and have a nice day. Goodbye.